Hey guys, welcome back to the Inf1nity IAME Series Asia 2025 campaign. It's round 4 and we're here at the Bira International Kart Circuit in Pattaya City in the land of smiles. We're back in Thailand and it's been a fantastic weekend so far. It's Sunday, which means it's finals day, and everybody on the grid is hoping to come away with one of these fantastic trophies at the end of an amazing weekend. And that means that they're going to have to work incredibly hard to get into that top 5. If they manage to do so, of course, then they'll be able to make their way onto the top step of this fantastic podium at the end of the day. Everybody wants to be here at the bitter end. Just before we get into the nitty-gritty of today, I want to give a big shout out to our cameraman who's actually holding the camera at the moment, Iron Man. He got sideswiped by one of the accidents at the end of the race yesterday, and he's still holding a camera, still doing his thing. That's amazing. Well done, Iron Man. Right, we're going to continue our little sojourn around the paddock. It's been an interesting weekend so far. Yesterday was a double victory for Chinapat Vejabuti in the cadet category. This man, Kalen Delsey, actually came away with one of the rookie victories yesterday. There you go. See, now he wants to give me a high five. He shared that honour with Suchat Ongnambai. And then in the seniors yesterday, we actually had a fantastic duel across the category, but it was Austin Gale who managed to come away with both victories on home soil. The first one was after a last lap, a little segue, but then he managed to really fight his way into winning position in the second heat. Now we're going to the super heats with him on pole position. That'll be fascinating. Chinapat Vejabuti is going to be one of the drivers to keep an eye on as they work his way forward. But there's a lot of great challenges from CRG Thailand, as much as there is from the guys in the Bira Art. And it's been fascinating to see how things have currently been progressing. It's been an interesting challenge so far in junior as well. It's been an interesting battle all the way with 2 different winners from the races, namely Andrea Galimberti and Sera Kojima. But that means that there's going to be a very interesting battle on the front row of the starting grid. The man behind us in the Rad Racing team, Conrad Garrow, he's going to be on the front row of the starting grid, and as the championship leader, fighting his way back after losing a brake line in qualifying and still managing to put the car 7th on the grid in time qualifying. Very impressive. So it'll be fascinating to see how that continues to progress. We're still going to have plenty of action out on the course. The juniors are getting ready for their super heat. You can just see down at the end there, the drivers now getting themselves into position. Jack Larson hoping to get himself another bit of silverware over the course of the weekend. Don't forget that it's the top 5 drivers that come away with trophies at the end of a final. The checkered flag is just going out on the course for the True Visions SKT. Those are the new boys, part of the RAAT. Their push to get into karting locally here in the category. So it's been very, very busy so far for all of the drivers. But there's an interest in the weather, of course, today as well. Yesterday we had 2.5 rain showers, it's probably best to say. So it's been a very difficult one in terms of trying to work out what the weather's going to do. We have been predicted some rain to come over from the far side of the shore. Whether it's actually going to hit the circuit or not, well, your guess is as good as mine. We've started dry, we've started hot, and it's definitely going to be an interesting one for all of the competitors. Are we going to get another great battle for the victory like we saw yesterday in the Masters as well? We had Harith bin Zadal O of the FR Racing Johor team. He came away with a race victory in the first heat before the local star Wadasak Ayamchan came away with the second. Pivotal weekend for them as well, because his son Wadapang Ayamchan is currently racing out in the Bang Sen Grand Prix on the streets of Thailand, about an hour down the road from here, in his second race of the weekend. So they're having an interesting time of it. The juniors just getting themselves into position. The marshals are sweeping up the circuit. Everybody getting into position. It's superheat time here in Thailand as all of the competitors are getting ready for another exciting battle, particularly some of the young Thai superstars racing for the first time. We just saw Chris Kasemsa making his way to the grid, one of the many young Thai stars getting themselves into the Inf1nity IAME Series Asia for the first time. All roads, of course, lead to the IAME World Finals. The champion in this category in all 4 classes, in Cadet, Junior, Master and Senior, will get to represent their nation at the IAME Warrior Finals in the autumn of this year. There's also just been announced a fantastic new competition that's going to be taking place in LYL, just down the road from here. The FIA Karting Championship will have an Arrive and Drive Cup. That's going to be really, really exciting. And a lot of the drivers from this grid are already eyeing up an entry into that category. We'll bring you more news from that over the course of the weeks, I'm sure, building up to it. But there's also a very exciting new IAME Asian-based competition, which is coming up in the autumn as well. More news on that as we bring it to you. But For now, it's time to get ready for the superheats and the finals later today. My goodness me, the fourth round of the championship could give us yet another host of new winners. Are we going to get a double winner in Master, Cadet, Junior and Senior? Or are we going to get talent getting onto that top step of the podium? Very, very tricky to tell. You can just make out the clerk of the course, the race director there, just chatting away with the juniors after a very interesting battle yesterday. The four drivers he's really speaking to there in the junior category, Danish Chen, Sera Kojima, Andrea Galimberti and Conrad Garrow. They were the ones at the sharp end of the battle yesterday, and definitely they're the ones who'll be able to dictate the pace from the start of our first race. But it's going to be very, very interesting. 14 laps are going on the board. 3-minute board gets up. It's time to get to the commentary box. One-minute board goes up, and it's going to be Andrea Galimberti and Conrad Garrow fighting wheel to wheel into the first corner. The DRM Italian based in China and the rad racing man, Conrad Garrow, still proving in the modern era that you can run as a lad and dad. Danish Chen lining up third on the grid in the 29R kart in the pink and white colours, and then Sera Kojima in the front row, 7 Racing & Co., the highest ranked lady in the competition in Inf1nity IAME Series Asia, now a race winner in 2025. Don't forget, Gu Haotian and Narol Imjit-Panya are on the third row of the grid, then Leonardo Mori and Max Tse from Kian Shah and Aryan Singh. Jack Larson down in 11th, unfortunately for him. He's got plenty of time to make up and plenty of opportunities to do so alongside the Thai Chris Kasemsop. And then Michael Lederer, Santok Singh, Tianarajan Jatupat and Juk Kashin to finish off the grid. Here we go. Drivers are sent out onto the course to warm up the tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature. And then we can go racing for the first time today. All the pressure on the Italian stallion, Andrea Galimberti, wanting to showcase his incredible skill. But keep an eye on Danish Chen today. I've just got a feeling that he was getting himself into a good rhythm yesterday, starting to build things up into a good rhythm for him. I don't think we've really seen the best of Danish Chen this weekend yet. Don't forget, he won the opening round of the championship, the final at LYL, and he's been very consistent over the course of the campaign so far. So I would expect Danish Chen to put up a real fight. But the other man to keep an eye on today is Jack Larson. They had a really tough day at the office yesterday. A fantastic performance and a great effort from the Aussies yesterday in particular. But Jack Larson really had his back to the wall for the majority of yesterday's encounters. So he's going to have a tough job of it fighting his way back from 11th place. But there's not many drivers in this paddock who have his steely nerve and determination coupled with a very laid back and relaxed demeanour. So it'll be fascinating to see what he can produce. Sera Kojima now starting on the outside of the second row, even tougher to make up progress from there. But Conrad Garrow has one of the toughest tasks of all from the outside of the front row to try not to lose too many places. Sera Kojima did a great job yesterday from second on the grid, only lost 1 place on the grid. Look at how much Andrea Galimberti and Conrad Garrow are backing up the pack. This is a brilliant pack start. They'll come off the turn, they'll make sure they get off to a start. This is one of the best starts I've ever seen in Inf1nity IAME Series Asia. And we go racing. Danish Chen pulls up alongside Conrad Garrow, who's almost got a wheel on the grass, and the left side of the grid gets a terrible start. Unfortunate, as charging through comes Jack Larson into P6. What a start the inside line had. Danish Chen now all over the back of Andrea Galimberti. Not a bad start from Gu Haotian, and Leonardo Mori up at a 4th position as P9 on the grid has come up into P5 without too much difficulty. That, of course, was Kian Shah. So everybody on that inside line getting a real benefit, and that's helped out Jack Larson no end, who was starting 11th on the grid, has been able to work himself up into P6 now in front of Conrad Garrow. Sera Kojima has dropped a position as well. That's not helped her on the wrong side of the grid to make progress. But this is shaking things up. And Leonardo Mori going for broke on the inside line, getting through on Gu Haotian. Sera Kojima also gets a move on the inside line there, past the Kart Republic of Michael Lederer, having switched, of course, to the Fireball team for 2025's continuation, and then moved across again to Auto Inc for the second half of the year, as Leonardo Mori still battling away with Gu Haotian into 3rd position now. So Leonardo Mori is having a fantastic opener. He was really on it yesterday, Leonardo Mori, after his 3 weekends in Malaysia where he had some good flashes of pace. This is a great chance for him to really showcase what he can do. And so Galimberti leads Chen and Mori. Then it is Gu in 4th position. P5, that is still Kian Shah in front of Jack Larson, then Garo, Kojima, Lederer, Singh, Santok Singh is next up, then Kusemsup, Max Tser having had a terrible start, unfortunately, so too did Nadalim Jitpanya, and then Tianovic Janajatupat and Zhu Kashin still at the tail of the field. Drivers making moves all the way down the straight. Looks like Nadalim Jitpanya was having a crack there to make a move on the inside of one of his opponents. I think he was trying to get the move there on the 120. That was Chris Kusemsup. But out in front, Galimberti leads Chen, and the fastest man on track is Leonardo Mori. So Leonardo Mori has really done his homework overnight. Great to see Mori really put on the offensive here as Kojima gets her move on the inside of Conrad Garo and Jack Larson in one move. Sera Kojima gets 2 into 1. That is one of the best overtaking moves you're going to see in 2025 as Garo now fights back on the inside of Jack Larson and does the deed. But Sera Kojima went from 8th to 6th in one corner. Boom! Absolutely brilliant from the from the front row and 7 racing driver. Excellent work from Sera Kojima. It's the 29R driver who's in 2nd place. That's Danish Chen. But they're being caught, the 2 leaders, Galimberti and Chen, by the ever-impressive Leonardo Mori, who really is pushing on a steam here. So Sera Kojima is caught up to Kian Shah, who's going to be battling away now to try and shake off Sera Kojima. Kojima dives in on the inside. That'll do nicely. Into P5 goes Sera Kojima in turn 1. We were so busy on the cameras watching the 3 leaders, but Kojima has gone up into P5 and is now challenging Gu Haotian for 4th position for the Muhua Motorsport team. So with the 3 leaders up in front, we need to keep an eye further back because Sera Kojima is just going through the field like wildfire here and might get another opportunity to storm forward up into P4. So certainly Galimberti having a good run, but look at Leonardo Mori all over the back of Danish Chen, trying to make the moves for 2nd position. This has definitely been one of the strongest campaigns from Leonardo Mori so far this season. Great to see the Malaysian really come of age mid-season. You'd sometimes get that just the developmental click, the light switch going on in the head of some of these drivers. Wonderful to see when the timing strikes right. And Leonardo Mori all over Danish Chen. Meanwhile, Sera Kojima is going to line up the move here on Gu Haotian into turn 1. And that's P4 from the Filipino-Japanese driver. Great work from Sera Kojima. She's back into the hunt again. So P4. She's gone from 8th position to 4th in the space of 3 laps. Very impressive indeed there from Kojima as Garo now charges up the inside of Kian Shah. And so Garo gets his move into P6. Nice work there as the Singaporean tries to get himself back into at least a race-winning opportunity. Top 5 will do for him as the championship leader, though. He's 10 points clear of his nearest opponent. So staying in the top 5 is good for the moment. Got to be thinking long-term championship, even if you don't win the final, just getting those points in the bag. I've said it many times before in racing, it's not just about what you do when you win, it's about what you do when you don't. So off the turn, Garo hunting down Gu Haotian, and it looks as though Jack Larson is getting on terms with Kian Shah as well. Great battles all the way through the field as Max Tser has a hunt on the inside of Michael Lederer and manages to get through on the inside line through turn 1. Danish Chen desperately trying to pull away from Leonardo Mori as they are all in danger of being caught by Sera Kojima, and Garo gets his move on the inside of Gu Haotian for 5th position. That'll do nicely for the Singaporean. So Conrad Garo into P5 further back. And Galimberti starting to lose grip. He was telling me yesterday the back tyres, the rear tyres were starting to go off in the middle of the race, and I think he's got an issue with that again here. So the DRM Paralin struggling for tyre life, and that's really going to give Danish Chen a chance to come at him. So Danish Chen and Leonardo Mori can sense the opportunity now as Galimberti, the Italian based in China, is working so hard to keep this kart on the road. But the DRM Paralin is struggling for grip. Notice how he is the only DRM driver up at the front end of the field in junior. The others are really struggling for traction as Danish Chen works hard to close up on Galimberti. Galimberti was able to hold on to the win yesterday, but there's more laps in the superheat. 14 in total, 8 to go, including this one. And so Danish Chen can sense an opportunity here on Andrea Galimberti. If I'm Leonardo Mori and Sera Kojima, as well as Conrad Garo, I'm staying really hungry in this race because Galimberti could start defending any moment now. And if that's the case, then everyone's going to tighten up. This junior superheat is building to a crescendo. We've got 7 laps to go at the end of this one. And Galimberti holds on from Chen, from Mori, from Kojima and from Garrow. And I have a feeling these five are going to get very close together. But those rear tyres are starting to fall away a little bit for Andrea Galimberti. Here's mechanic on the sidelines, Muzaddin Muzaffar, race winner in Senior X30 last year, just coaching him on the sidelines to keep it cool, relax a little bit out front, don't push the kart too hard. He's only got 2 kart lengths on Danish Chen, but this is all about mind management as much as it is tyre management. You can't afford to push too hard here. In juniors, you can get a little bit tempestuous and a little bit overeager, and that will overwork the tyres just that little bit more. In junior, you are still learning your craft, a bit bigger than a cadet, but certainly a lot faster, and that wheelbase, all pretty much exactly identical to a senior. So that makes things a lot more difficult for a young driver to cope with. Mistakes are hard to cure in junior. Now he's now starting to stretch away. This is much better now from Galimberti. Really starting to open up the taps a bit now from Danish Chen. This is much smoother from the Italian, and as a result, Chen, Mori and Kojima are struggling to stay with him now. Galimberti's got good pace. So he opens up the taps a little bit, but Chen, Mori and Kojima are still there. Garrow actually dropping back a little bit as Jack Larson is struggling to get his move on Kian Shah as they run behind the Chinese driver, Gao Hutian for the Muhua Motorsport team, struggling to catch up with the top 5, but still proving to be best of the rest at the moment. And up on the inside, it looks like Michael Leder has just lost a position there to one of the CRGs. I think that's Santok Singh who's got in front. And it looks as though Andrea Galimberti being able to pull out that little gap. But Chen, Mori and Kojima are tightening up. So is Sera Kojima going to break into the top 3 before Leonardo Mori and Danish Chen can close up on Galimberti? Kojima looking very hungry in behind Leonardo Mori. Don't forget these two are teammates. So Leonardo Mori and Sera Kojima running in the same 7 racing operation. But Sera Kojima proved yesterday, I'm a race winner. Leonardo Mori's still got to prove that in 2025. He's within touching distance of the win, but he's still got to find a way past both Danish Chen and Andrea Galimberti to prove that. Kojima will be riding off the confidence of knowing that she is a race winner this weekend, and that will give her just that little bit of extra impetus. So the top 4 tightening up. For whatever reason, Conrad Garrow not quite able to run with them for the moment, but the second these 4 start battling, he'll need to keep himself in the game. I wonder if he's just been backing off a couple of laps just to look after the tyres a little bit. These last 2 laps of racing are going to come to the driver who's looked after their tyres the best. You've got to race intelligently as well as quickly. So Kojima all over the back of Leonardo Mori, and Galimberti's big advantage over Danish Chen is decreasing once again. Just wonder if Chen, Mori and Kojima might be able to work together here to close up on Galimberti. 3 karts can cut through the air much quicker than 1, as Naradhim Panya is having a really aggressive battle down the main straight there with Aryan Singh and Santok Singh in the CRG Thailand machine as well. Just trying to give you an insight as to what's going on off camera as well as what's going on it, because there's a lot more to this race than what the eye can see on the screens. But look at Kojima really stepping up the tempo now on Leonardo Mori. So Mori, 3rd position behind Danish Chen. Andrea Galimberti, though, holds the lead and has a couple of kart lengths more on this lap than on the previous run. He's still able to do something with these tyres, but he's got to settle himself into a neat little rhythm. He can't overdrive. He's just got to be smooth, and he's looking much smoother now than he was 5 minutes ago. So Andrea Galimberti doing all the work he needs to. This is excellent from him so far. Danish Chen, though, dropping into the clutches of Mori and Kojima. And Kojima sensing an opportunity now to close up on Mori. But this isn't turning into an overtake. She wants to work with Mori to close up to Danish Chen. This could be a fight for second, not for the win. Up the inside, Kojima slides in on Mori and gets the move done. So Sera Kojima, a very late lunge into turn 3, and Kojima makes that work on Leonardo Mori. I'd love to see that one again, because that was really on the knife edge for both Kojima and Mori. What it has done, though, is it's brought Conrad Garrow back into the game. So very tricky there for Kojima to get the move done on Leonardo Mori, but she almost lost the kart in the process. And it has held them up, so the opportunity to go after Danish Chen may have diminished somewhat, especially considering that we've only got 2 laps to go at the end of this lap. So it's going to be very tricky now to make inroads, but the man who's really taken control of this race is Andrea Galimberti. He really has held on to his Paralin and made the tyres work in his favour. After what looked like a really ragged start. Oh, a 135 getting a warning there. So that is Nadal Inf1nity. So Nadal Inf1nity getting a warning flag there. But this is such a mature second half of the race from Andrea Galimberti compared to the first. He was sliding around, he was looking over his shoulder, he was a little bit overzealous on the brakes, but now he is smooth as a baby's backside, looking so run down the other drivers behind him. Garrow looking after fourth position at the moment, trying to get in front of Leonardo Mori to secure that. Danish Chen, big run wide. Sera Kojima now has a chance to move forward as Galimberti is just coaxing these tyres masterfully. No worries at all for him. This is going to be about the battle for second place. So Sera Kojima with a chance to close up on the Singaporean Danish Chen as Galimberti has one lap to go and he's got just over a second on the rest of the field. That should tidy him up nicely, but Kojima fancies her chances for second and Conrad Garrow fancies his chances for fourth place. Here goes Kojima looking for the move on the inside and Danish Chen is holding her up big time. Going ultra defensive, knowing that the win is not on, he has to hold on for second place, but there's no room to get by. And Sera Kojima actually nudging Danish Chen a little bit in the braking zone because he's backing her up. So Andrea Galimberti looks like he's got the win sewn up here, but second position is far from decided. Kojima all over the back of Danish Chen as they go up through the hairpin. Galimberti is now over a second and a half clear by the look of things. Kojima's going to have a chance here down the back straight. She's going to fit into the smallest gap in history and they collide! They bang wheels and Kojima spins off. Danish Chen runs wide. They banged wheels and I think Kojima's going to have something to say about that. Victory though is going to go the way of Galimberti. Masterful drive. Morley will be second. Garrow third. Danish Chen bangs his hand on his helmet there. What was she playing at? Sera Kojima will be saying exactly the same thing. What was he playing at? Well, two race drivers will have very differing opinions there. Now that's going to be fascinating. Kojima crosses the line down in 15th place. Let's look at it again. Down to the braking zone. Well, this is further round actually. Galimberti running a masterful race up front. I think we just did look at it again. I do apologise, I was too busy looking out the window. But a slight wheel rub between the two. Looked to me as though Kojima just dived for the inside line. And whether she got her line wrong or whether Danish Chen moved across in the braking zone, it's going to be very interesting to determine who's done what there. And both drivers are going to have very different opinions about how that incident played out. But it's cost both of them second position. Sera Kojima is going to say, I had a move there on the inside line and Danish Chen moved across on me. Danish Chen is going to say, I don't know what Kojima thought she was doing, making that big a lunge on the inside line, and she was always going to tag me. But a fantastic battle of wits between the two of them for sure in the closing stages. A really good race there in Junior X30 in the super heats. But one thing you cannot deny, fantastic control all the way through from Andrea Galimberti. Really read the race well, looked after the tyres, managed the issue exactly as he needed to. When he was going a little bit over the line, he reined himself back in, led the tyres beautifully through and managed to give himself the advantage he needed to be comfortable. Sera Kojima fighting her way through the field in fantastic fashion. That double overtake she pulled off to go from 8th to 6th. Very impressive indeed. But she'll be hopping mad at the second place, and obviously a front row starting position got away from her there. So there's definitely going to be a conversation, I'm sure, between her and Danish Chen, maybe even in front of the stewards. But that incident's such a difficult one to determine. So Sera Kojima had to work incredibly hard to catch up to Leonardo Mori, then got her move out of the final turn. This is her getting into third place. So making her bid on Leonardo Mori. Once she got through, she left Conrad Garrow to deal with him, and this last lap, Sera Kojima was all over the back of Danish Chen. There was a little bit of a nudge between them, but then comes the move. There it is. Well, that's the aftermath of the move rather than the move itself. So that doesn't really tell us anything, unfortunately. It only tells us what happened as a result of that. We need to really see what happened in the build-up to that to understand what really went on, but that's certainly going to be a conversation for both drivers with the officials afterwards. And a bitter frustration for Danish Chen and for Sera Kojima. But no frustrations at all for Andrea Galimberti. Once he cooled off and got himself into the rhythm, it was his race to lose. And lose it he did not. So all of the contenders ready for the charge forward. so many cadets that they actually have to be split into 3 rows there in the holding area, and then they'll eventually go out in order as they are sent one group at a time. But fascinating to see how this 35 kart grid has grown so dramatically. Last year we had just over a dozen or so, and now we have got a full capacity cadet grid. Wonderful to see such amazing wealth of talent in this competition. So our youngest competitors, aged between 8 and 12, head out onto the grid for the cadet and cadet rookie Superheat, the last race for them before the final. And it's Chinapat Vejabuti and Poshkong Chol on the front row of the grid from Libin Lewis Kanan and Jay Kostecki. Tanawarat Vejabuti and Hirot Sir from Mason Kwong and Patapol Kaukanjanaset. Liu Yushwan and Papazaton Silibabanleng. Oliver Sir and Chayakorn Mina Kanith. Maximilian Schilling and Zhang Shishwan. Sidichak Ongbangnoy and Kalen Delsi. Then Jun Karato and Prin Vongabong. Putapong Wangnapachan and Zhang Yisheng in the top 20. Then it's Sirapach Ketsuwan and Austin Lowe. Jenich Sutavatanarodod and Sriatapat Tirapatara Buwong. Then it is George Patrizi and Kitanan Tapat Bunyaratkalin. Then Saharat Lat Prasetpakon and Nutsarang Rongwastanakul. Ponapat Pitak and Tanta Jivasakunrai. Then Kenzo Mateo Gunawan and Carson Choi. Tamta Jivasakurai and Mohamed Falik Fariz. And then at the back of the grid, it is Joshua Tan alone in 35th on the grid. What a battle it's going to be for the next 12 laps. So the competitors working very hard indeed as they warm up the tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature. A couple of drivers out of position on the formation lap, but they have until the red line to get themselves back into the correct positions. Looks like everybody's pretty much done that. Good to see, as all 35 drivers from all across the Asian Peninsula and even further afield into the Pacific regions. A couple of Australians on the grid, none the least of whom, of course, are Jay Kostecki and George Patrizi, or Super Giorgio, as we have to call him from now on. Really backed up here before the red line. This is fantastic formation from the cadets. They're so much more regimented than yesterday. I have a feeling that the race directors had a word in the ears of several drivers up at the sharp end of the field. It's up to you to regulate the starts here, and we're going to get a much cleaner and better start. Still a lot of pressure on a couple of drivers to move forward. Oh, there's a lot of nudging at the front end of the grid there. That's the kart in 5th position, doing a lot more nudging, I think, that's necessary. Tanawarat Vejabuti on the back of Libin Lewis Kanan, and there's a kart stopped. It's Hirot Sir. Hirot Sir, championship contender, has stopped out on the circuit. So Hirot Sir is going nowhere. What a disaster for the Grand Victoria Paralympic. Trying to move forward, and now he gets going again, but he's at the back of the line. Are we going to go racing regardless? I think we are. Yes, we do. Up to the start, and it's an absolute charge forward from the 77. It's the Vejabuti that makes the charge forward into the lead. So Dhanawarat Vejabuti has got ahead of Chinapat. Wow, my goodness me. So Dhanawarat and Chinapat Vejabuti are 1 and 2. Well, there's going to be some discussion about how he went from 5th position all the way to 1st. I wonder if he moved out of the grid hatchings before the lights went out there. There could be a few penalties because they left that very late for the lights to go out. But of course, you're not supposed to accelerate until the yellow line. So it's fascinating to see that we've got a couple of drivers there in the mix. But Poshkong Chol is now charging his way forward. There's another kart off the road on the first lap. Oh, it's a kart rolled actually on the first lap. I think we're going to have a full course yellow here. So the leaders are going to come around, and I think we're going to go full course yellow here straight away. In fact, no, we're going to go red flag, red flag. So we go red flag on the first lap. The race is going to be stopped, so all of the karts are going to come around at the end of this next lap, and they will end up parking on the starting grid. So all of the contenders will then park their karts on the starting grid. And with this being a red flag at the end of the opening lap, that means we're going to get a full race restart here. So a full race restart, and the drivers will obviously bring their karts onto the starting grid. So, well, big moment in the race then as one kart rolls over. Fortunately, the driver is now up on his feet by the look of it. So that would have been, I'll try and figure out who it was. Well, the race was actually red flagged before the lap came around. So unless we can get a look in at the close-up of that particular kart, we're not going to know who the driver is, but I can tell you that the driver is on his feet. So after an initial scare, it is perfectly okay. So the driver in question is okay. I'll try and find out who it is. But we are under red flags here after an incident on the first lap that saw a kart roll over, but the driver is perfectly okay. So they're just going to get some looks into what's going on. Ah, there is the car. Now that is Austin Lowe. So it's Austin Lowe, but he is perfectly okay. He's talking to the marshals there at the side. They're going to check him over. But fortunately, Austin Lowe is all right. That's why I wanted to get a look at him, because we know he's on his feet. He's talking to the marshals. So despite the scare, he is going to be okay by the look of it. So that means the rest of the contenders are going to bring their karts onto the starting grid. And because we did not complete the first lap, this is going to be a complete restart, probably run to full race distance. But I will confirm that before we get official word, obviously. But under these circumstances, when the race is red flagged before the first lap is even completed, then it should be a fresh restart on the grid. Now, I have a feeling that there's going to be a wait for permission for the mechanics, to come back to the karts to reset front fairings, but that will not be confirmed yet. All of the drivers will come to the grid. A very dramatic start, and a couple of drivers very much out of their original positions, it has to be said, but that's all going to be reset very shortly. So the drivers will get their chance to reset and go off their original grid positions. But when the red flags come out before the end of the first lap, that is the procedure. So the officials will re-grid the karts in their original positions on the start. So I've made my way down onto the starting grid just to assess the situation and get clarification. The officials have told me that as normal procedure under a red flag on the first lap, it is going to be a completely fresh restart here on the grid. So all the drivers will get to be in their original grid positions for the superheat. And of course, any front fairings that are out of position will be reset. So it's going to be the full 12 laps as normal, and all of the competitors will be put back into their original grid set positions for the superheat. I think the only driver that's not going to be taking the start is the number 1, Austin Lowe, who was, of course, the cause of the red flag. He rolled the kart, he landed on the grass. He's okay, he's up on his feet, but they're going to take him for medical checks just to be on the safe side. Of course, that's what the officials and the safety teams here have to do. So the ambulance will obviously go off the circuit. I can tell you that Austin Lowe is okay. He's literally having medical checks as a precaution, because we have to obviously go through the standard safety procedure. But what that means is, of course, that everybody is going to be back in their original grid positions. So we're going to have Chinabat Vejabuti and Poshkong Chol back on the front row of the grid. But you do get the sense that there's an eagerness amongst the cadets to really force their way forward. That start, which was well held, I have to say, by Chinabat Vejabuti and Poshkong Chol, they really backed the field up, but it created a sense of urgency amongst the drivers behind. They've got to chill out. They've got to keep themselves a little bit more relaxed as they gear themselves up for the start. A couple of the officials here just reminding everybody just how it's got to be done. Kit Wong, the clerk of the course, along with the safety teams here. Race director Richard is in the mix there, so is the assistant Jessica. Just getting everybody involved and making sure that everybody is clear about the procedure here. Because when you're dealing with kids that are 8 to 12 years old who are full of adrenaline, full of the urgency to get the competition up to run, it's never easy to keep their emotions and keep their exuberance and their eagerness in check. So they've just got to be reminded that on that start, you have got to take your time. You shouldn't really be accelerating until the yellow line that you can see just there halfway down the straight. A couple of drivers in the back of the field, by the look of it, just being a little bit overeager, and that kind of concertina effect is what can cause those first lap incidents. So a couple of drivers there just being reminded, I think, in that back of the field that there needs to be a little bit of patience until those lights go out. The lights can go out any time they come out around this final corner. It can be as late as here, which of course it was in the beginning of that super final. So they have to be aware of how late those lights can go, and they can't hit the throttle until those lights go out. They obviously also can't move out of the tram lines until those lights go out. Mr. Poshkong Chol, there on the front row of the grid alongside Chinabat Vejabuti. Libin Lewis Kanan having the weekend of his career at the moment in third position, having a great run there in P3, alongside Jake Kostecki, who's been fighting his way back into supremacy all the way through the weekend. And then, of course, we have Danawarat Vejabuti and Hirot Sir there in the top 6. Now, Hirot Sir obviously had an issue there at the start. He now gets a second chance to move his way back into position. But as you can see, all of the drivers there now getting themselves reset back into their positions in their original set for the superheat. It adds to the drama and the tension a little bit, but fortunately, these young lads and lasses can go back into racing. But the engines are on, and they will go around for one final formation lap. So they are off on their way. Green flag flies, and the drivers will set off. Now, this is fascinating from the psychology of where things currently stack up. Danawaret Vijabuti has absolutely no intention of being in 5th position by the end of the first lap, does he? He's on the 3rd row of the grid on the inside line, and he got a magnificent start, perhaps a little bit too quick off the start of the previous heat. And just getting off the grid, he's made sure he's gone straight to the front of the pack alongside his brother Chinapat. So Danawaret Vijabuti definitely making a sort of a psychological statement here, overtaking everybody else and getting to the front of the pack. How much that gets into the head of his opponents around him is going to be a real test of wills as to what happens into those first couple of corners. But it's all those psychological head games that really can make a difference. So Chinapat Vijabuti, Bosch Kongchol, Libin Lewis Kanan, Jake Kostecki, Danawaret Vijabuti, Hirot Sir, Mason Kwong, Patabol Gogajanase, Liu Yishuan and Papazatorn Sadababanleng in the top 10. Then Oliver Sir, Chayakon Minakanith, Max Schilling, Zhang Jishuan, Sidachak Ongbonoy and Kalen Delsi, Jun Korato, Prin Vokabon, then Putapong Wangnapachan and Yang Yisheng, Sidapach Ketsuwan, Lu Sachen, and then Jirek Sutivatanarod, Sriatapat Tirapatara Bowang, and then George Patrizi in front of Kitanan Tapat Bunyaratkalin, Saharat Lut Presepakon, Natsurung Rongwastanakul, Pondapat Pitak, Tantaj Yuvasakunrai, Kenzo Mateo Gunawan, Carson Choi, Tamtaj Yuvasakurai, Mohammed Falik Fariz, and Joshua Tan. Taking them a bit of time to get everybody back up to the grid. I noticed that obviously Austin Lowe is missing because he's getting safety checks from the officials. Are we going to go starting this time? Yes, we are. And off to the start we go. Jake Kostecki trying to squeeze from the 2nd row of the grid and get in a 2nd position. Brilliant start from Jake Kostecki. Dives in between the 2 ties. And the Australian is right into the vanguard of this battle as he's already hunting down Chinapat Vijabuti, trying to go right round the outside of him into turn 3 and get the switcheroo. Excellent start from Kostecki. What a start from the Australian. And now he's going to make the bid on the inside line. Kostecki leads halfway round lap 1. What a rocket ship of a launch from Jake Kostecki. The Australian really has worked himself into a good position. As further back round, we've got one of the CRGs in trouble. So one of the CRGs has spun off at the far side of the grid there, trying to figure out who it is that's trying to restart. But we've got one spinner up at turn 5, I think that is, at Marshall Post 4, spinning around. But Jake Kostecki is in the lead, and up on the inside, that is Libin Lewis Kanan getting through into 2nd place. So the DT Motorsport Sodi brothers have completely hit the self-destruct button there. Very tricky start to proceedings as the drivers work their way through at the end of the first lap, and it's a really exciting gunship now. 4th position for, it's Chinapat Vijabuti no longer leading the way, of course. But Bosch Kongchol was in position. Something's wrong with our timing screen because that order is definitely not the actual order. Jake Kostecki is your leader as the Vijabuti brothers are running in 3rd and 4th. 5th position, that looks like Mason Kwong, although he looks like he's about to lose out there to Pop the Bolgok and Jadaset. 7th position, that's one of the CRG Thailand carts. I think that might be Bosch Kongchol all the way back. And then next up, it's Max Schilling. How is Max Schilling in P8? That is an astonishing start from the man from Hong Kong. He's made up 5 places in 1 lap. Fantastic launch from Max Schilling. And he's now hunting down his championship rival Mason Kwong, who's lost a bit of ground on this lap. So it looks like it's a pretty tight one from Jake Kostecki in front of Liman Lewis Kanan. Then it's the 2 Vijabuti brothers. And it looks like Danawaret in front of Chinapat. Then it is Kaukan Janaset in front of Bosch Kongchol. Then Mason Kwong, then Max Schilling, and then it looks like Hirot Sir, I do believe. No, it's Oliver Sir. And then it's Hirot Sir in 10th position. What a dramatic shake-up of the order this first couple of laps have been in the cadet category. Now it looks like Goga Janaset is going to get his move around the outside of Chinapat Vijabuti, and he's not going to be the only one. Bosch Kongchol gets through as well. Mason Kwong and Max Schilling are trying to work together to go through as well. So excellent stuff in the battle for 4th position, but Chinapat Vijabuti has lost a lot of ground. The spinner on the first lap, by the way, was the 59. It's actually Bosch Kongchol who's down at the back. So Bosch Kongchol is the one down at the back, goodness me. So it isn't Bosch Kongchol who's up there in the mix, it's one of the other CRG drivers who's in the top 10 there. I've got a feeling that might be Silibabanleng. It is, it's Papasathon Silibabanleng on the Forza Motorsport CRG who's in the mix there. But as they work their way forward, it is a great duel between Jake Kostecki, Libin Lewis Kanan, and Danawaret Vijabuti. Up to 4th place, that is now Porsche, or as he is also known, Patabol Gogganjanaset. Then it is Silibabanleng running in P5. Great run from Silibabanleng. 6th position for Chinapat Vijabuti, who was the pole sitter, don't forget. Then Mason Kwong, then Max Schilling, and then Oliver and Hirot Sir. Inf1nity is next up in 11th position. Fastest lap of the race is Inf1nity. So Inf1nity is the race fastest lap at the moment, down in 14th place. So the cadets really are giving us an exciting duel. But what a duel it's going to be in the closing stages of this one, because Libin Lewis Kanan is now struggling to fend off from Tinawada Vajabuti. But Jake Kostecki doing exactly what he needs to, the Australian who bandwagoned his way into the lead on the first lap with some fantastic banter with the others. Magnificent to see him fight his way through. And Libin Lewis Kanan second now in front of Tinawada Vajabuti. Then it is Pattaya Janaset P4, and that looks like Sulaba Banlang still doing a great job there in front of Chinapat Vajabuti. So Chinapat Vajabuti having a great run of it as Max Schilling tries to rain down on Mason Kwong's parade at the end of the lap. Libin Lewis Kanan has caught right back up to Jake Kostecki. This is going to be one of those super heats, isn't it? We've still got a long way to go, 8 laps left in it, and there's still so much for these young cadets to do. A 12-lap super heat with so much on the line in the 4th round of the championship. Expect the unexpected from these cadets. They really are rising to the occasion, and the top 10 is an absolute fight to the death. The checkered flag is still 8 laps away. But there's some great battles. 1 for 1st, 1 for 4th, and 1 for 7th, and it really is tightening up for all 3 positions. Kostecki, Kanan, and then Tinawada Vajabuti in the battle for the victory. In the battle for 4th position, we've got Galkan Janaset, Sulaba Banlang, and then Chinapat Vajabuti. And then for 7th place, we've got Mason Kwong versus Max Schilling, and then Oliver and Hirot Sir. Looks like Oliver's got back in front of Hirot Sir. He has indeed. And then in the 33 in 11th place, that is Marshall Liu. So Marshall Liu doing a good job there in 11th place. As side by side, Kostecki almost loses the lead there to Libin Lewis Kanan just on the straight itself. Then Chayakon Minakanath has lost out to Inf1nity. And then Surachach Ongnangboy is the leading driver in cadet rookie at the moment, 14th position. Great racing everywhere you look as Libin Lewis Kanan is having to defend now from Tinawada Vajabuti. Vajabuti trying to come through in a 2nd position, and Libin Lewis Kanan, who was battling Jake Kostecki for the lead, is now having to protect 2nd position. You've got a feel for Posh Kong Chol, who's down at the back of the field after his spin out on lap 1. So the championship contender now finds himself right at the back. And there's all sorts of drama for 7th position as Mason Kwong and Max Schilling are having a very tough race of it. Down on the far side, I think there's actually been a shuffle of the deck there, hasn't there? Yes, there has. It's now Oliver in 7th place, then it's Max Schilling in 8th, and Mason Kwong is having to throw caution to the winds to protect from Marshall Liu, who dives in at the inside. It's an absolute NASCAR race from 9th position downwards. As Hirot Sir is trying to work through the inside, Marshall Liu trying to get on the inside of Mason Kwong, hasn't been able to make it work. All sorts of battles in this cadet race as now Hirot Sir goes down the main straight, side by side with Marshall Liu, and there's contact in the final turn. We've had a Kart Republic stop out on the grass on the infield in the final corner. So there's a kart off the road there at the final bend, trying to see who it is, as Libin Lewis Kanan is defending there from Tinawada Vajabuti. Vajabuti trying to get up the inside. No, you don't, says Libin Lewis Kanan. And that is Sriatapat Tirapatara Buwong. So Tirapata Burong has gone off the road in the DRS racing kart, the Kart Republic. So he will join Austin Lowe on the sidelines. So a real disaster there for Sriatapat Tirapata Burong. He's out of the race then. Libin Lewis Kanan fighting for his move on the inside line. And Libin Lewis Kanan takes the lead in front of Jake Kostecki. They're going to be side by side off the turn, and it's going to be double waved yellows at the corner. Jake Kostecki manages to nose in front just as they reach the double waved yellow zone. Now, question, was that an overtake under yellows or was it not? Oh, that's really tough to tell. That's really difficult to know if that was an overtake under yellows or not. We'll have to see what the officials state on that one. They were approaching a yellow flag zone, and DRM are going to be very adamant. Look, he overtook us under yellow flags. Bira Asia are going to say, no, they didn't. No, he didn't. He hadn't approached the yellow flag zone yet. There's going to be some debate about that one. But for the moment, Jake Kostecki has hit the front once again, and now Libin Lewis Kanan really struggling as diving up the inside to get into 3rd place. That's Galkan Janaset. Galkan Janaset gets the move on Vajabuti, and now Chinapat Vajabuti is going to get alongside Sulaba Banlang to get into P5. Great racecraft. Well, the top 6 are now very close together as a result of the duel for the top 3 earlier on, and Galkan Janaset now finds himself in 3rd place. Porsche is pushing. Can he catch up to Libin Lewis Canaan? Well, he's going to have pressure from Tanawarat Vejabuti before too long. So it's going to be a really exciting battle to see them all get on a very tight run off the line. Side by side, Golgan Janicet having to defend here from the 77. Tanawarat Vejabuti trying to get back onto the inside line in the apex. Very tricky stuff in the top 6. Still good race battles all the way here. And the top 6 really starting to muscle their way around as Golgan Janicet defends again from Vejabuti. Vejabuti trying to go the long side. Golgan Janicet has the inside line for the Mickey Mouse section though. So surely should be able to hold on to 3rd position. Well, it's really getting tricky out there. Fantastic stuff at the front end of the field though. Jake Kostecki has got pressure from Libin Lewis Canaan. So Libin Lewis Canaan definitely having to do his homework here to close up on Jake Kostecki. Down the back straight, he's got a chance here on Jake Kostecki. Jake Kostecki holding his nose for the moment as round the far side, or trying to go right round the outside of Golgan Janicet. Comes Tanawarat Vejabuti, that opens the door for Chinapat Vejabuti. And now his brother's going to help him out on the far side. Can he run right round the outside of him? There's not much to choose between the two, and the brothers will go side by side. Go on Chinapat, you take him on the left side. But Tanawarat will have the inside line, so he slots back in behind. Magnificent racing in the cadets as they go 3 wide just outside the top 10. And now Golgan Janicet really is parking the bus as Libin Lewis Canaan and Jake Kostecki go wheel to wheel for the lead of the race. Canaan is going to get his move on the inside line, is he? And Canaan gets into the lead. Kostecki comes right back at him. We're watching the 3rd place battle, but the leaders are going side by side as well. Canaan has just failed to get through there on Kostecki. Some great racing between the two of them. They're going to hold each other up if they're not careful. Canaan has really risen to the challenge here, and he's going to try and take on Jake Kostecki almost alongside him off the hairpin. Jake Kostecki signaling to Libin Lewis Canaan, what are you doing? We've still got 2 laps to go. Don't race me yet. Oh, brilliant race battle for 3rd position further back though. It's still getting pretty heated out there. Great battle going on for 8th place as well as Max Schilling holds on from Marshall Yu, and that's the 12 in 10th position just behind them. That is Puttabong Wangnapachan. So everyone getting in the mix here. But still, Jake Kostecki and Libin Lewis Canaan battle over the victory. For the moment, 3rd position appears to be secure for Tanawarat Vejabuti. But Golgan Janicet, Chinapat Vejabuti and Papasatorn Silipabanlang are all having a great battle for 4th place behind them as well. So the Australian Jake Kostecki and the Malaysian Libin Lewis Canaan battling over the victory in the Superheat. This is easily Libin Lewis Canaan's best race weekend so far in Inf1nity IAME Series Asia. But can he put one over on the Australian who took the victory last time out in Libin Lewis Canaan's home race? Off the hairpin. The DRM pushing. He might have another chance here down to the back straight. Ignore what happened at the yellow flag zone. Libin Lewis Canaan might still have the opportunity to get ahead. And if he does, then those yellow flags will be forgotten very quickly. Libin Lewis Canaan, round the back of Jake Kostecki. He's got a tighter trajectory, a better radius. Final lap begins, and Jake Kostecki's having to defend. Moves across the cover. Libin Lewis Canaan backs out of it. Really tough racing going on at the moment. As Wangnapachan, by the way, has got up into 8th position ahead of Max Schilling and Marshall Yu. So good racing from him as he works his way further forward. But Jake Kostecki and Libin Lewis Canaan are still having a great deal for the victory in this race. Libin Lewis Canaan now knows this is the final lap, and he's running out of opportunities to stick it to the Australian on the inside line. But Jake Kostecki, who's never even been to Bira before this weekend, having a fantastic run in the lead. Libin Lewis Canaan right with him. The cadets really are putting on a brave show. 3rd position, Tanawarat Vejabuti's on his own in no man's land, and Golgan Janicet is trying to hang on to 4th position as if his life depends on it right now. Libin Lewis Canaan round the outside of Jake Kostecki, who defends big time, chops across on Libin Lewis Canaan. There's not a lot he can do about it. It's going to be the Australian, Jake Kostecki. As he goes into the hairpin, he'll get a fantastic run, but what an effort from Libin Lewis Canaan. It's going to be Kostecki from Canaan. 3rd place will go to Vejabuti, 4th place to Golgan Janicet, and an absolutely brilliant race battle there. What a sensational duel all the way through from the cadets. Wow. Fantastic racing in the Superheat. What an amazing duel right to the finish line. As all of the competitors come home other than Sriatapat Tirapatawarong and Austin Lowe. So So Jake Esteki takes the win from Kanan, Tanawarat Vejabuti, then Gogan Janaset, Chinabat Vejabuti, Papasaton Silva Banling, Oliver Tsur, Putabong Wanapachan, Max Schilling, and Liu Yujuan, or Marshall Liu if you prefer. A fantastic top 10 race there, really exciting stuff. A few of the championship contenders really on the back foot though. Not an easy race there for Hirot Sir, only 13th behind Ong Bang Noi and Mina Kanith. And also Mason Kwong all the way down in 17th, a miserable race for the championship leader. So a really difficult situation then for our contenders who have given us a heck of a lot to talk about going into the final. This championship lead could really change hands here in the Cadet Championship. The leading rookie, by the way, was Putabong Wanapachan. So that's very different from Sivrachak Ong Bang Noi and Kaylin Delsey, who got a winner piece yesterday. Putabong Wanapachan makes it 3 different winners from the 3 heats in Cadet Rookie alone. And Jake Esteki fights his way back to a brilliant, brilliant victory there in the Bira Asia team. And he managed to do most of that work, actually, on the first lap. Very impressive stuff. But, of course, there is going to be a discussion, I'm sure, about the double wave yellow. So what the result of that is going to be, was there an overtake under yellows or not? Interesting. I think it's very minimal, because obviously they were all slowing down for Sriatapat Tirupatara Bulwang, who had stopped out on the course. There was a double waved yellow, but the question is going to be, was a move made before the yellow flags or at the yellow flags? Very difficult to say, and the officials will have to clarify that one. So while that debate rumbles on, we're going to switch our focus again to the Masters. You're just looking at some of the highlights from the cadet race, but to be perfectly honest, there are far too many highlights to squeeze into one reel. You've got to go back and watch the whole race again. There was some really good duels, one of the best super heats in cadets that we've ever seen in the Inf1nity IAME Series Asia. It had everything. It had a battle to the victory all the way to the line. It had some truly sensational battles in the mid-pack. That was really quite exciting. So very impressive stuff here. Don't forget, of course, that this weekend we've actually got an amazing array of trophies to give out. 50 trophies in all to give out here, because we've got 25 trophies to give out across the cadet, cadet rookie, master, senior and junior in the IAME Series Asia paddock, but we've also got the IAME Series Thailand trophies to give out. So there's going to be 10 podium ceremonies essentially here, and that's really exciting to note. This is going to be the longest podium ceremony I think we've ever had in the Inf1nity IAME Series Asia paddock. But it'll be great to award all these fantastic heroes with their trophies. Our attention is now going to turn to the Masters category. Very exciting to see all of the hard work that the Masters have put in. And so we're going to get to see some amazing drama out on the course once again. But the cadet rookies really did give us so much excitement there in their super heat. And there's more to come from them in the final later. They've got to kick it up another gear. So after a thrilling battle that went all the way to the finish line there, great to see Jake Esteki take his first win of the weekend after a double trouble run for Chinapat Vejabuti in yesterday's races. But it really was sensational to see everybody put in such a great effort there. Excellent work from everybody and a fantastic race. So many great comebacks in that race as well. The likes of Oliver Tsur to fight his way back into the top 10. Max Schilling likewise, along with various other competitors who put themselves right back into the vanguard. But there's more great racing to come after the cadets will go to their final later. Now we go to the Masters Super Heat. 14 laps for just 4 drivers. I know what you're thinking. Well, this is going to be a bit dull, isn't it? No chance, mate. This is the Master X30 category. In both of yesterday's races, we had victories that went right down to the wire, despite the fact that the second race only had 3 finishers. They went nose to tail for most of it. And you're about to see something pretty special and very much the DNA and the code as to why IAME X30 is one of the most competitive forms of motorsport on the planet, never mind karting. You're going to have 4 drivers out on the grid, but even so, it's going to be an amazing race. Harit bin Zadalo of Malaysia, alongside Wedasak Ayamchan of Thailand for the Top 1 Motorsport team. Then Ian Willock, the Singaporean, for Simon Racing on his Tony kart. And then Tamyuk Ho in the Simon Racing colours on his machine will be 4th on the starting grid. There may only be 4, but you don't need many to make a great race. You just need racers who want to push to the ragged edge. And in Master X30, they are just as determined as they are in Senior. The big key factor, of course, in Master X30 is stamina, because these guys are over the age of 30. It is very easy for them to start losing their energy and start to tire a little bit further into the race than these young whippersnappers taking part in Senior X30. So discipline and stamina and control are very much the buzzword in Masters X30. If I had the budget to go racing in the Masters category, you bet your bottom dollar I'd be racing in it. I'd be finishing last every time, but who cares? So these drivers getting ready for it as they come through the penultimate hairpin. And it's time to see for the third time who's going to get the victory. Are we going to see Harith bin Zaralo? Are we going to see a win for Wadasak Yamchan? Or could Ian Willock become the third different winner? Or even Tamyuk Ho be the third different winner from as many races so far? Imagine the 4 drivers got a win apiece. That would be fantastic. Off the final turn. O versus Yamchan off the line, and we're going to go racing straight away. And it's a perfect start for Yamchan. He's going to pull try across on Harith bin Zaralo as Tamyuk Ho goes around the outside of Willock to get ahead of him. So Yamchan has beaten Harith bin Zaralo off the line. No worries at all there. Ian Willock down to 4th position behind Tamyuk Ho. So the 4 drivers work their way through the hairpin at turn 3, charging down towards Marshall Post 4. They fly round the right-hander. Is there going to be a bit of trouble in the Mickey Mouse section? We've certainly seen that before this weekend, not in the Masters admittedly, but so far Yamchan in front of Harith bin Zaralo. Tamyuk Ho is losing ground already to Ian Willock, who is trying to put pressure on him to go to 3rd position. Now yesterday Tamyuk Ho actually let Willock go. I'm not sure he'll be quite so willing to do so this time. Willock's going to have to take that position. So they work their way through the hairpin. A little bit of tight running there as Wadasak Yamchan is trying to pull clear of the Malaysian, who worked so hard in race 1 yesterday, eventually managed to catch Yamchan and get the move done. Oh, don't slide too wide out of the final turn, gentlemen. That's when you're going to start to really eat at the tyres. You start hugging those marbles and it becomes like an ice rink. So Tamyuk Ho trying to hold on in front of Ian Willock. Willock is really starting to dial in for 3rd position as they work through the hairpin. Back on the power. Up towards Marshall Post 4. Nothing to choose between those 4. What did I tell you? Just because there's only 4 of them in it doesn't mean it's going to be a slow burn of a race. As Harith bin Zaralo tries to close back in on a Yamchan, the Thai driver leading the way. He runs a bit deep out of the Marshall Post 5. Goodness me. You want to be so careful there, Wadasak. Those are the kind of opportunities that will not come a second time for Harith bin Zaralo, and he'll take it. The Malaysian is very fired up here for the FR Johor team. Through their hairpin at the end of the lap, and they will go right to the final turn as Tamyuk Ho is trying desperately to hang on in front of Ian Willock. The teammates at Simon Racing, they've got a lot of respect, those two, but they're racers. They're going to go for it, and Ian Willock is going to get his opportunity on the inside line of Tamyuk Ho, and that will be 3rd position. No worries at all for Ian Willock off the corner. Nicely done. So that kind of splits the field a little bit there, as now Harith bin Zaralo is sizing up his attempt here on the inside of Wadasak Yamchan. And this is the Thai running wide off the turn. Can Harith bin Zaralo make his bid? He's going to dive to the inside line as Yamchan runs wide again. Careful, boys. So Yamchan holding his nerve on the inside radius at the Mickey Mouse section. Harith bin Zaralo trying to tighten up his radius and get a faster run off the turn. Slow in, fast out could be the move. As they come up to the hairpin once again, this is where Wadasak Yamchan is going to have to work very hard indeed to fend off from Harith bin Zaralo. They go down towards the hairpin once again. And the Malaysian just taking his time on the tie. Ian Willock is closing up on them though, so he'd better hurry up, because if he's not careful, he's going to lose 2nd place to Ian Willock. The Thai, the Malaysian, the Singaporean, and the man from Hong Kong as they work their way through at the end of another lap. So still a long way to go then for the Masters. 11 laps to go of this. They really are pushing the limits in this superheat. But look at Willock really starting to hammer in on Harith bin Zaralo now. The Malaysian's going to have his work cut out. He drifts a little bit wide. That's exactly the kind of invitation Ian Willock will take advantage of. They run through up to the far side. Still nothing to choose between the 3 men up front as Tamyuk Ho is starting to tire a little bit now and will let them go. He actually retired in race 2 yesterday. Something was wrong with the kart though rather than him. Ian Willock really putting the Malaysian under some pressure now. Ian Willock's got to be very focused if he wants to get ahead of Harith bin Zaralo. Leader is still Wadasak Yamchan. The top 1 driver just taking it nice and easy. He had a great run here last year, wanting to continue that this season. Most likely out on track at pretty much exactly the same time as his son is racing in the F4 Southeast Asia, just down the road from here at the Bang Seng Grand Prix. So there could be two wafts of success for the Yamchans at the same time, just an hour away from each other. But Harith bin Zaralo is under some pressure here from Ian Willock. Willock is again trying to hamper the Malaysian's cool. Up to the inside line, Yamchan drifting a tiny bit wide off the apex there. That gives both Harith bin Zaralo and Ian Willock a little bit more momentum, a bit more impetus to go after him in the apex. Into the Mickey Mouse section we go. Right, tighten up, left, little dab of throttle, back on the power, try to close the radius to make sure your opponent is not going to get a window of opportunity on the inside. Out through the hairpin. And Yamchan still looking very hungry here ahead of Harith bin Zaralo. So Wedasaka Yamchan looking so good at the front end of this field. But Harith bin Zaralo and Ian Willock are looking just as equal to him. And these three are still very close together. Harith bin Zaralo tightens up, but he gets a little bit wide on the apex. That's enough for Ian Willock to fancy his chances. Willock has been so close to the victory in both of the races yesterday. He might have got the win yesterday had there not been a little bit of a clatter between Willock and Harith bin Zaralo at the end of yesterday's second heat. But we know that Harith bin Zaralo can get ahead of Yamchan because he did it in heat 1 yesterday. Willock has just as good a chance. His lap times are easily as good as the leading two. So this could be such a dogfight between these three drivers to the end. Willock has got to be so careful about how he keeps his wits about him as Yamchan runs a little bit wide. Harith bin Zaralo now with another chance to go for him. Through the hairpin, sliding together. So much pace and so much energy in this race, but they've got to keep it going for another 8 laps as they come through now. Harith bin Zaralo trying desperately to shut the door just in case Ian Willock will slice his toady car up on the inside line. They come off the turn, there's nothing to choose between the two men. This is so difficult to predict. 8 laps left. Harith bin Zaralo goes slightly wide on the radius, but he tightens it back up with a squirt more throttle out of turn 2. Gets himself back in behind the Yamchan. This is nose to tail stuff. All three drivers keeping us on the edge of our seats here. Bit of a run wide from Yamchan. He's wrestling with the wheel, trying to get that kart turned in as quickly as possible. Through the turn at Marshall Post 4, through the Mickey Mouse section again. And again he drifts wide, but he somehow manages to get the kart across. That's held up Harith bin Zaralo, and Willock will have a look. Oh, he had to bail out of it. Nothing to choose between these three. Who would have thought the Masters would give us this kind of show? Harith bin Zaralo's got to go for it. He knows he has because he's got Ian Willock right with him. Yamchan is held up a little bit there as well. Harith bin Zaralo doing everything he can. Yamchan is protecting in the final turn. They're going to tighten up as they come off the turn and back down the straight again. Harith bin Zaralo will make his bid for the lead. Yamchan tries to hold him off, but he's through. Harith bin Zaralo gets his move and takes the lead. Watch for Willock now. He'll try and do the same thing on Yamchan. He dives for the inside and he forces the move. Ian Willock into second place with a wrestling match of a move. Great dive on the inside line. So Ian Willock forces the move and now gets into second behind Harith bin Zaralo. And I don't think Willock's going to be satisfied with second place here at all. The Singaporean will bounce back on the Malaysian for sure. We've still got 6 laps of this when they come through at the end of the lap. Absolutely astonishing how these two continue to put pressure on Yamchan. And Ian Willock knows he's now just a few kart lengths away from taking his first win of the weekend. And that will set up one heck of a fight in the Masters final between 3 men who we know can win races. Willock tries again. Coming off the turn, 6 laps to go, and the Singaporean is now taking on the Malaysian. Yamchan is fading here in 3rd place. So now it's all down to Ian Willock. What can he do? Yesterday, they tangled the 2 drivers in 1st and 2nd when they were behind Yamchan. Can he keep a clean breast of it? He made a beautiful move just then on Yamchan to get into 2nd, but he's got so much time. 6 laps. He can spend 4 of those laps just studying what Harith bin Zaralo does in these apexes, and he can seek a mistake. He knows now that with Yamchan dropping back, he's got the victory in his pocket if he can make a clean move. Through the right-hander. Back on the power, down the back straight. Ducks down behind the steering wheel to give himself that little bit of extra aero. Tightens up on the radius, very close to him in the hairpin, back down the short stretch. This is an amazing duel between these two. It really is a battle of wits. It's like watching Wimbledon at 70 miles an hour. Down the straight into turn 1. And Ian Willock still pushing Harith bin Zaralo to his limit. All he's got to do is wait for that one lapse in concentration. He runs wide. This is exactly what Ian Willock needs to be doing. Force the errors, force the mistakes, and eventually his time will come. Ian Willock really putting pressure here on the Malaysian. You don't need a complete grid of drivers, you just need the right ones to give us a show. Just as we saw in LYL, the 5-kart battle was monstrous in the final, and it looks like it's going to be a magnificent duel again. But Ian Willock wants to be a third different winner this weekend. Harith bin Zaralo won race 1. Wedasak Yamchan won race 2. But can Ian Willock turn the tide and get the win in the superheat? With the hairpin, he's so close to the Malaysian. He's just got to be very measured now as to how he looks after the tyres, how he puts the Malaysian under pressure. He's got to keep the tempo up. 4 laps remaining. Still got a good opportunity here, and there's a bit of a luggish moment there from Harith bin Zaralo. Ian Willock is going to try and go slow in, fast out to draw level with the Malaysian. He can't quite make it happen. Oh, this is so close. Ian Willock sensing every single gap that opens up. But he's processing every error that Harith bin Zaralo makes like a computer. He's got to store it like a hard drive to figure out where he's going to be vulnerable. He's so close to the victory, he can taste it. Through the hairpin again. He's got a great opportunity, big momentum. How big is his nerve under the brakes? Still just waiting. It's still too early to really make those gung-ho maneuvers on the late brakes. As long as he can stay with Harith bin Zaralo, he can make a committed move on the final lap and send it to the inside line. 3 laps to go. Very tight as they go across the line. Wedasak Yamchan has just got to concede. He's losing so much time to these two. That's the problem. When momentum gone, he just cannot find the same pace. Again, Harith bin Zaralo having to protect that inside line for turn 3. This is exactly what Ian Willock wants. His back against the ropes. Tight to the inside of the radius at Marshall Post 4. Back to the Mickey Mouse section of the course again. Right-hander. Squirt of power. Left-hander. Squirt of power again. Get back on the inside radius, and this could be a chance again for Willock. Harith bin Zaralo looking a little vulnerable. Hairpin. Keep the back end rotated well. This is better from Willock. But he needs to do this on the next lap, really, to make his big dive on the inside. He can't afford for Harith bin Zaralo to have any response. There's still about 2 kart lengths too many between the two. So Willock has got to pull out a qualifying lap here to get back on the rear bumper of Harith bin Zaralo. 2 laps to go. Here we go. Can the Singaporean overturn the Malaysian's lead? Through turn 2. Backstretch, up towards 3. This is where Harith bin Zaralo has been protecting of late. But Ian Willock is a little bit further back than he wants to be here. The Singaporean is trying everything he can to stay with. I'd wonder if those tyres are just slightly falling off now. He's worked so hard to get ahead of the Malaysian and stay close to him. He has the fastest lap, Ian Willock, a 57.7. Compared to Harith bin Zaralo, whose fastest time is not quite at the same level. But let's see if a lap and a half is going to be enough for Willock. He's going to have to throw major caution to the winds here, or hope that Harith bin Zaralo makes an error. And both drivers are going to be sweating cobs on this last lap. But can Ian Willock pick up the pieces here on the Malaysian? 1 lap to go as they come round the final turn and over the line, and Ian Willock has never been more motivated to get ahead of anybody. Final lap, only a couple of tenths of a second between them. Into turn 1, Willock is looking fired up. Through turn 2. Along the back stretch, Harith bin Zaralo having to be a little bit more cautious. Ian Willock is throwing no caution at all. Up towards 4. Through the right, hug the inside radius. Have you got any fingernails left? Because I certainly haven't. In through the Mickey Mouse section. Right, left. Willock is absolutely churning these tyres, trying to get the move on the inside line. He's going to have to be brave if he wants to win. I think it's going to have to be in the final bend, but he needs to do well here. I think the Malaysian's got him. I'm not sure he's quite going to have it. Harith bin Zaralo skating on the brakes. Willock is trying to come back at him, but it's too big a gap. I just don't think he's going to be able to find it. Harith bin Zaralo and Ian Willock have given us great entertainment, but it's going to be the Malaysian. Harith bin Zaralo gets it from Ian Willock in second. 3rd place will be Wedasak Yamchan. 4th place for Tam Yuk Ho. What a warm-up that is for the final. Don't forget they've got an even tougher race ahead of them later. So for the moment, Harith bin Zaralo gets it. Ian Willock is just a stone's throw away from the victory, only finishing 0.2 of a second behind him. That's going to be tough in the final itself later. Well done to Harith bin Zaralo, though, for soaking up all the pressure. And the Malaysian makes it 2 wins out of 3. Can he get that done in the final? Ian Willock will be raising the bar. And so too, of course, will Barasaka Yamchan. They will be determined to get a win off him. This is going to be such a fantastic Masters final. Who would have thought that only 4 drivers can make a nail-biter? Well, it's the IAME X30 kart, isn't it? That's what makes this formula so brilliant. With other karting disciplines, you get into a position and the race just basically runs itself out. In IAME X30, it is so difficult to pull away when you take the lead. It's like the karting equivalent of IndyCar. Excellent work from the drivers. Look how tight these radiuses were in Master X30, with 3 drivers over the age of 30 battling their wits for the victory all the way. This is what proper motorsport is all about. And in karting, it is the purest form of the sport. Wonderful to see just how hard these athletes were working to make the moves happen. Nothing left to chance, no stone unturned. And for us, the racing's just been amazing all the way. And now we get to do it all again for the seniors. And that's going to be just as electrifying a battle, that's for sure. We'll see some really exciting duels between all of the contenders who have been keeping us on the edge of our seats in the Senior X30 battle all weekend long. So expect some amazing duels. But the Master X30 battle was fantastic all the way. Here was the move that got us into the lead. Barasaka Yamchan did his best to hold off Harith bin Zaralo, but no chance. And once Ian Willock got ahead, that was it for the tie. The pace dropped off, he lost ground, and then it was just these two playing chess, flat on the throttle. Excellent work between the two of them, and they've left us a little bit of spice for the final later. Great racing to the flag between Harith bin Zaralo and Ian Willock, pushing each other to the limit. No mistakes, no hard done by moments, but the promise of more to come. So now our attention turns to the electrifying battle in Senior X30, and it really is going to be incredibly tough all the way here. Pole position in the superheat is going to go to Toby Gale alongside Zadev Raikal on the front end of the grid. Looks as though there might have been a penalty handed out to Austin Gale at the end of his double victory run yesterday. So that will put him down in 5th position on the starting grid for this one. All of the shuffling of the deck and all of the racing we had yesterday means that with Toby Gale in pole position and Zadev Raikal 2nd, 3rd on the grid is Shavesh Sentil, can you believe? The Singaporean for Simon Racing, who's been having an amazing middle part of the season. Don't forget he grabbed a podium last time out in LYL, so he has a chance to win the final now, going into the superheat. 3rd on the grid alongside Yukapo, the championship leader, who is under massive pressure and has got the man who he battled with intensely during last round's final, Zadev Raikal, immediately in front of him on the grid. Then it is Austin Gale, race winner yesterday, and Kimi Chan, the reigning Senior X30 champion, P6 on the grid. Missed the last round of the championship, of course, because he was taking part in the F4 China Championship. So he's doubling up his karting with single-seater racing as he continues to make his progression. 7th on the grid for Feroz Fezrolfozi, who takes no prisoners when you go racing against him wheel to wheel. 8th position on the grid for the Aussie, Kai Burke, who is still battling for this Drivers' Championship, don't forget. 3rd in the standings coming in. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on in the closing stages of this weekend. Siri Kongsiri doing a fantastic job on home soil alongside his countryman Clifford Kanjanapas. 11th on the grid for the returning single-seater star Nikhil Bora, former winner at the Dubai Autodrome in the Formula Regional Middle East Championship. Now here on the 6th row of the grid with Fireball alongside Nawin Natipanon for the Mr. Go-Kart squad. Chen Zhuyan holding up the honours for China in 13th on the grid, alongside the returning and effervescent Didi Tse. Great to see her back in Inf1nity IAME Asia again, the Singaporean, right up at the sharp end of this field. 15th position for Cooper Fish. What a comeback for him after only managing to set 1 flying lap in qualifying and essentially starting towards the back. His return has been magnificent. 15th on the grid in this 36 kart field. Great to see Cooper Fish making waves as he makes the progress back up the order. Andy Burrett, 16th on the grid for him, keeping it nice and consistent for CRG Thailand. Miguel Quiñones, the Filipino, doing a good job in 17th place here in front of the Singaporean Johanatan Mosh. Then Zachary Boyce is alongside Paco Miguel Sarmiento, the Filipino for the DRM team. Corinne Kawa had a rather unfortunate end to one of her races yesterday, but still fought her way back, and she'll start 21st on the grid, alongside Ryan Gunavardhana, the Sri Lankan. 23rd on the grid for Norris Gafoor, the ex-F4 India driver. Good to see him returning to karting and to the Fireball Motorsport squad. Kay Sachin, 24th on the starting grid, his teammate. Then Mark Yao for the DRM racing team. And his fellow non-master, I should say, because both of them are old enough to race in masters and choose not to, Tsutomu Nishimura, the Japanese driver based in Thailand. Then the 14th row of the grid, we'll see Put Sinticharungrong alongside Panikorn Adamrasamy, who should be much higher on the grid. Don't forget that Panikorn Adamrasamy qualified in pole in his group, but is down in 28th on the grid for this one after a miserable day at the office yesterday that involved a collision and then another big race issue on the starting of the first race. On the start of the second race, I should say. So Panikorn Adamrasamy has so much hard work to do for the Top 1 Motorsport team. He should be in the top 5, really. 29th on the grid for Ayan Marwah for the Auto Inc racing team. The Indonesian Amial Udang for Stratos is in 30th. Then Thomas George, the Indian, alongside Tian Runchen, the Mohua Motorsport driver. Then it is Alvin Chan for the Darksela racing team. Megat Zulkarnain is next up for FR Racing Johor. And then Zhao Shiyan and Melvin Shane will complete the grid. So a fantastic race battle out there on the course. They really have given us plenty of excitement and drama so far. But we ain't done yet, folks. In Senior X30, we are just starting to cook. So all of the 36 competitors dialing themselves in here. Pole position, of course, for Toby Gale. A chance to become the Senior X30 champion in his first season in Senior. Was such a star when we raced at Bira last year in Junior. Only had the opportunity to race twice on home soil. This year he's got 3 chances, and with his exams done and dusted for the year, he can take full priority now in the fight for the championship. But then again, so can his older brother Austin, who's only 2 rows back on the grid but on the inside line. So what will happen when Zadia Vrykal and Toby Gale go to battle on the first lap? And also Yukapo, watch for him from 5th on the grid. Here we go! And Zadia Vrykal and Yukapo are going to try and push past Toby Gale into the first corner. They've done it! Vrykal through, Toby Gale forces the issue on Yukapo. You're not going to get past me, mate. Into second again goes Toby Gale. As round the far side, that is the ever-impressive Kimi Chan, trying to go wheel to wheel with Yukapo. Fantastic opening lap then, as Zadia Vrykal hits the front and Toby Gale is trying to get back on terms with the young Malaysian. Zadia Vrykal won the final last time out. It looks like one of the FA carts has gone clean off the road there in the background and manages to rejoin at the tail end of the field. So a bit of drama at Marshall Post 4, but Yukapo is trying to get back on terms with Zadia Vrykal and Toby Gale, with Kimi Chan there in P4. Austin Gale still keeping himself measured in P5 as Kai Burke slices up the inside to get back in his 7th position, chasing after the 288 of Shavish Sentil and also Sidi Kung Siri, who's going to run in the top 10 on the first lap. So a great start to this race, and Zadia Vrykal leads the way through the first couple of corners of the second lap. Toby Gale is right with him, then Yukapo, then Kimi Chan, then Austin Gale, Sentil, Kongsiri, Burke, Ferris Fosi, battling on the inside. Kimi Chan runs wide in his attempt to get after Yukapo, and Toby Gale is really wrestling with Zadia Vrykal. Is this going to be his chance? No, the Malaysian chops across him into the Mickey Mouse section. So Zadia Vrykal determined that he's not going to lose the lead. Having just taken it in the 4th round of the championship, his resurgence in Senior X30 this year has been mighty. But can Zadia Vrykal fend off from the hard-charging Toby Gale? It's one thing to take a victory on home soil, but this is Toby Gale's backyard. So Zadia Vrykal, who of course last year here at Bira had a fantastic battle all the way to the death in fantastic fashion in the Junior X30 battle, and managing to take the victory in Junior last year. Now he's got to do it again in Senior. Not going to be easy for him to go wheel to wheel in this contest, especially with Toby Gale ramping up the dial, and they've got Yukapo closing up on them. There's yellow flags out on the course because we've got an off by the look of it. We have indeed. We've got 2 carts up together at the final corner. 2 carts up together there. So we've got two retirements by the look of it. It's Ryan Gunnar-Vordena and Sutomo Nishimura. So those two are off the road together, as that is Austin Gale desperately trying to hold on in front of Sentil and Kongsiri as the field tightens up. Fastest lap of the race, by the way, is Panikon Adam Rasimi. So he's still proving he's the fastest driver out there, but he's now tight in the battle of the midfield, which is not where he wants to be at all. Still picking off drivers left, right and centre though, trying to get as far back up the road as he can, as Zadia Raikal again protects the inside line from Toby Gale. But Gale's got a good run off the turn. Is this going to be the lead for Toby Gale? It is! Brilliant from the young man from Pattaya. Toby Gale hits the front once again. Excellent work from the Thai. And now here comes Kimi Chan, slicing up the inside of Yukapo for third place. Great run from Kimi Chan. So Toby Gale leads Raikal, Chan, Yu, and then in fifth place is Austin Gale, ahead of Sentil and Kongsiri. So we've got two carts off the road at the end of the lap. That is Sutomo Nishimura and Ryan Gunnar-Vordena. So the Japanese and the Sri Lankan have taken each other off, unfortunately. I don't know whether they were helped to the scene of the incident or whether they've just got problems of their own. And Toby Gale is disappearing as now Kimi Chan slices up the inside of Raikal. And there goes Yukapo with him. Raikal is dropping like a stone through this field as Kimi Chan gets in a second, Yukapo gets into third, and here we go again as Zadia Raikal tries to attack Yukapo, and the rest of the field says, no chance, mate. Austin Gale gets through, Chavez Sentil tries to go up the inside of the Malaysian, and Zadia Raikal is struggling. Down to fifth position he goes, and Sentil, Kai Burke, and Siri Kongsiri are now lining up a move on the Malaysian themselves. Yukapo, meanwhile, is trying to get back on terms with Kimi Chan, the current championship leader, battling the reigning champion. Second and third, Chan and Yu. Good work so far here as Toby Gale continues his run in the lead. No worries at all there. The MRC Bira driver having a perfect race in the lead. Read the moment nicely, got his move on Zadia Raikal and has driven away from the pack. Now he just needs to look after the tyres in the midsection of this race, not rush himself, just keep himself nice and neat and tidy throughout. Second place for Kimi Chan. Yukapo is third. Fourth position for Austin Gale. And then fifth place for Raikal in front of Kai Burke, Shavesh Sentil, Song Kiksiri. Very exciting stuff so far then. Zadia Raikal all the way down to P5 and struggling to keep himself in the vanguard of this battle. Now, what's happening to Panikon Adam Rasimi? He's got a lot of ground to make up, but he's done a fair job, actually, looking through the field at where Panikon Adam Rasimi, who is still the fastest man on track, by the way, having done a 56.2, he's now up into 14th place. That is astonishing. From 29th on the grid, Panikon Adam Rasimi is now 14th. Well, he's got a point to prove, hasn't he? Halfway through the field, and still plenty of laps to go to get himself back up even further. Big dives on the brakes, as that is going to be the move on the inside from Feroz Fezrofozi. He goes wheel to wheel there with the 242, trying to dive up the inside of Siri Kongsiri. Feroz Fezrofozi keeps his foot in. And a great charge forward as the 242 goes forward as well. That is Clifford Kanjanopoulos making a good impact there in the midsection of the top 10. So as Yukapo tries to drive away from Austin Gale, Siri Kongsiri down to 8th now, behind Kanjanopoulos and Feroz Fezrofozi, down to 10th in fact. Then it's Chen, Bora, Fish and Adam Rasimi. And there's contact, two cars together on the far side of the course. Now who's that that's gone together there? That is Kai Burke. Kai Burke's collided with Shavesh Sentil. So the man third in the championship, Kai Burke has tangled with Sentil. So Kai Burke and Shavesh Sentil colliding. And that really has opened up the field a little bit. Goodness me, some big challenges now from the other drivers in the field. Big opportunities coming as a result of Kai Burke's exit. Zadia Raikal has dropped all the way back to 8th position, so there's been a real shuffle of the deck here in the top 10. P5 now is Clifford Kanjanopoulos. So Kanjanopoulos P5 in front of Kongsiri, Fozi and Zadia Raikal. So in 9th position behind them, that is going to be Nikhil Bora, I do believe. So Nikhil Bora now in 9th in front of Cooperfish and Panikon Adam Rasimi, who's just one place away from the top 10. Panikon Adam Rasimi is driving out of his skin here. The Thai eager to put himself back into the top 10, and that will put all bets off going into the final. What if Panikon Adam Rasimi can get himself back into this fight for the final? What a race this is. And now Toby Gale has been caught by Kimi Chan, who sends it on the inside of the hairpin. Magnificent from Kimi Chan. Toby Gale's going to be held up now. Austin Gale can give himself a little bit of support here behind Yuka Po. He'll try and dive to the inside line. Side by side. Yuka Po is not going to let him have it. Don't you dare overtake me. Yuka Po holding on to third place as Kimi Chan hits the front. The reigning champion is back. Fantastic work from Kimi Chan. So Toby Gale still second. Third place Yuka Po. Fourth is Austin Gale. Fifth is Clifford Kanjanapis. And there's an absolute dogfight further back. That's Panikon Adam Rasami. Adam Rasami is now in 8th position ahead of Nikhil Bora and Sadiev Raikal. What a comeback from Adam Rasami. He started 29th. He's now in 8th. Panikon Adam Rasami really is the star of the show here. Fantastic. What a comeback. So Chan leads Toby Gale, Yuka Po and Austin Gale. Then it's Clifford Kanjanapis, Siri Kung Siri, Venus Fezro Fosi, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, in 8th place is Panikon Adam Rasami. What a surge through the field. Adam Rasami is leaving no stone unturned here. Magnificent battling through the field. 9th position for Nikhil Bora in front of Sadiev Raikal, Cooperfish, Chen Juyan, Didi Tsur, Miguel Quinones and Noen Natipanon ahead of Andy Buret. Well, very exciting stuff so far then as Cooperfish is now trying to take on Sadiev Raikal to break into the top 10. That's a pretty impressive comeback in its own right there. Having only done one flying lap in qualifying, Cooperfish almost has no business at all being in the top 10, but his comeback is magnificent as well. Can he get the move on the inside line on Sadiev Raikal heading out of the lap? Well, he's certainly thinking about it. So we go back to the front. Great battle between the top 4. Kimi Chan leads Toby Gale, Yuka Po and Austin Gale. No quarter asked and none given as they go into the next lap. 6 to go. Still a long way left in this superheat. And don't forget, this isn't even the final yet. A magnificent race with nothing being left to chance by the leaders. Amazing motorsport here as Austin Gale gets back on terms with Yuka Po. He's going to try and send this on the inside line of Yuka Po to the Mickey Mouse section. Yu is absolutely determined. Is that all you've got, Austin? Come on, make a real move. Yuka Po holds on in the Explorer. 3rd position from the PR1 driver. But Kimi Chan leads, then Toby Gale, then this man Yuka Po, still trying to give the Explorer chassis its first ever win in international competition. The only Asian chassis in the contest. So Yuka Po still pushing. He won the season opener in LYL. He leads the championship, but he's got his back against the ropes here to Kimi Chan and Toby Gale. He's got to try and fight back. So Toby's older brother Austin is right in behind Yuka Po and he's absolutely resolute to get into 3rd place. Clifford Kanjanapis is catching up to all of them though. Watch out for Kanjanapis. He's the real threat. And Kanjanapis has been looking after his tyres very well indeed. Here goes Austin Gale to the inside of Yuka Po. He is on the curb. This time he's got him. Magnificent from Austin Gale. No chance at all of retaliation there from Yuka Po. And now Clifford Kanjanapis has a say in the matter. Oh, and Didi Tsur's gone off the road. Didi Tsur on the DAP has gone off the road, unfortunately, and recovers down at the back of the train. What a shame for Didi Tsur. I'm not sure if she was helped to the scene of that, but certainly the result is not what she needed at all. She's been amazing through qualifying, so strong through races, but it's bad luck in the superheat for Didi Tsur. So Kimi Chan leads the Gale brothers, Toby and Austin. And look at Clifford Kanjanapis all over the back of Yuka Po. He's been quietly getting on with this race. And now Clifford Kanjanapis is going up the inside of Yuka Po. Thank you very much, mate. I'll take you on. No, you don't, says Yuka Po. Kanjanapis will have the inside line for the Mickey Mouse section, though. Nice try, Yuka Po. But Clifford Kanjanapis is into P4. What an amazing battle Senior X30 is going to give us. We're going to really need to crunch with the calculators at the end of this weekend. The championship lead could be blown wide open here with Yuka Po down in P5 in the superheat. Kimi Chan, who is 15 points behind in the championship, missed round 3 because he was racing in F4 in China. Back in the paddock again. He wasn't even supposed to be here, don't forget. He had a conflict in his schedules, but that fell through, so he was able to race here after all, and here he is leading. Second place for Toby Gale. His brother Austin is catching up to him though. So this could be an interesting dynamic as the brothers will race against each other. They're still getting used to doing that, don't forget, because Toby and Austin Gale are usually in different class, different times, but now they're both together in senior. Toby Gale has just completed his SATs, don't forget, and Austin Gale has just completed his GCSEs, so they're still very much in the middle of their academia. 14 and 16, these two. But now they're going to race against each other. It's always very tricky when brothers or siblings race against each other in karting. Toby Gale looks over his shoulder. He knows that Austin's there. How are they going to play this out? They're losing hand over fist to Kimi Chan here in terms of time. And there's going to be 2 laps to go. Kimi Chan has got one hand on this victory already in the superheat. But what about the final later? That's going to be different. And they've got to be careful because they're being reeled in here by Clifford Kanjanapas in 4th position. Yukapo is next up, then Siri Kung Siri, then Ferris Raposi, and Panakorn Adam Rasami. Now the brothers are fighting each other. Got to be careful. You don't want to lose too much ground to Kanjanapas. It's counterproductive to race each other for too long because Clifford Kanjanapas will make mincemeat of you if you give him even half an inch. So this is good work at the moment from Austin Gale and Toby Gale. I think that's Austin in front, isn't it? Have they swapped positions? I think Austin Gale got ahead there. Yes, indeed he did. So 231 is now in front of 223. Toby Gale is now protecting from Kanjanapas, who tries to go the long way round, tightening up the radius. Toby Gale trying to shut down Kanjanapas on the exit. That'll do nicely. So Austin Gale back in a second, Toby Gale to 3rd, defending from Kanjanapas and you as we go into the final lap. And Toby Gale really having to go wide here into the first corner to keep Kanjanapas back, who fights? No chance. Toby Gale is absolutely on it. And Yuka Bo is now going to have a chance to go for the inside of Kanjanapas. Up on the curbs, he has a look. Great racing. And we've still got an entire final of these guys to race later. My goodness me. Kimi Chan, though, has shown us exactly what he's made of in one of the most competitive fields in motorsport. And here he is, out in front, showing that even without testing, even without racing in every round of the championship, class always rises to the top. And Kimi Chan, who came into this season going, well, I've got a lot more drivers to race against. It's going to be a lot harder this year. He's still got what it takes as he comes out to take the victory. Brilliant stuff from Kimi Chan. He takes the win in front of Austin Gale and Clifford Kanjanapas. He's managed to squeeze in front of Toby Gale before the flag. Yukapo just beats Siri Kung Siri to the line. But what a drive from Kimi Chan. Absolutely exemplary. Magnificent stuff in front of Toby Gale and Clifford Kanjanapas. Austin Gale has to settle for 4th position. Well, very impressive stuff there. I was right before. Toby Gale had stayed in front of Austin Gale. It was the other way round. So easy to tell them apart. Not. But Kimi Chan in front of Toby Gale, Clifford Kanjanapas and Austin Gale as they came through across the line. Very close racing all the way, but Kimi Chan able to hold on for the victory as Yuka Po's body language coming back into the pits. He overtakes everybody bar Kimi Chan. Yuka Po, I think, is quite angry on his way back to the pits. 5th position. So the man from Hong Kong is going to be very frustrated indeed, but his body language there as he came back into the pits, overtaking everybody before he got back into the pit lane. Well, very interesting to see the drivers as they climb out of their machines. But the highlights of this race, there were plenty of them. But hats off to the man who went from 29th on the grid to 8th position, Panakorn Adam Rasami. What an incredible charge from the Thai. And now, by my maths, he should be knocking on the door of the top 10 on the grid for the final. I don't think he'll quite be there. He'll be just outside it. But if he's got that kind of pace in the final, well, Panakorn Adam Rasami could well be making his way to the final in a very strong position. Well, it looks like we had a retirement there in the closing stages as well for Karin Kawa. I didn't see that, unfortunately, but Karin Kawa ended up retiring on the end of the 2nd lap. So problems there for her, I think. Damage as a result of the incident on the second lap. I wonder if that was in connection with the incident between Ryan Gunnar-Vordena and Tsutomu Nishimura, because I think she was in amongst that all. The only incident that ended up in a retirement, but there were so many other duels in that race. Everybody on the curbs. Look at that from Austin Gale to force his way in front of Yuka Po. Up on the curbs, absolutely determined to make those moves happen. Great racing all the way. That's what we love about the Infinity IAME Series Asia paddock. There is no stone unturned in this paddock. Absolutely astonishing. And that was just the warm-up. That was just superheat. Wait for the final. It's going to be incredible. So today is a very different day compared to yesterday, that is for sure. And so the battle is going to be a very incredible one indeed as we go to the finals later. We're going to see some great duels in the juniors, in the cadets and cadet rookies, in the masters, and of course in senior X30. Everybody ramping up the attack to go for glory in the final. Who's going to get the victory? You'll have to stick around to find out.